It's a new tax year in the UK, which means it's time to pick your 2023-2024 stocks and shares ISA provider. In the UK, we're pretty sport for choice. There's a ton of different platforms, and most of them offer a stocks and shares ISA just because it's one of the best wrappers we can invest into, being from the UK because of the tax advantages. The best platform for you is going to depend what you want to do. I always say to people, start with the end in mind, work backwards, and see what is the best platform for yourself based on what you're trying to do. But in this video, we're going to be covering a number of different platforms. The ones I'm going to focus on are ones I actually have accounts with, as I know how they work and know how good they are. But I'm also going to cover a few extra platforms towards the end as well. I'll leave timestamps in the description if you want to jump between different platforms. This video is probably going to be a little bit long, and to be honest with you, it could last for like an hour plus. So I'm going to try and be as succinct and straight to the point as possible, which is why I've come up with 7 different categories that we're going to try and cover for each platform in that order, so you can hopefully get a good overview if the platform is good or the best one for you. These different categories are fees, product offering, so did it offer stocks, ETFs, index funds, account offering, their trust/reputation, accessibility, fractional investing, and then any extras that are worth mentioning. So 7 categories we're going to try and blitz through for each platform that we're going to get through in this video.
Drum roll, please.
Now that's out of the way, let's get into number 1, and that is Vanguard, and that's personally who I've always had my stocks and shares ISA with since August of 2018, I think it was. So first of all, let's talk about their fees, and they of course are very low fee. That's what they're known for. They have a 0.15% platform fee, which isn't the lowest, but it is still very low. They also cap their fees at £375 per year. What I mainly like about Vanguard is how transparent they are with their fees. If you just Google Vanguard full costs and charges, based on what fund you want to invest into, you can see exactly how much in fees you will pay. So it's very open, very transparent, and that's what I like. In terms of their product offering, this is probably their main downfall. They only offer index funds and ETFs. So if you only want to invest into funds, which is what I pretty much do for 99% of my portfolio, then they're really good. They offer a range of life strategy funds, target date retirement funds, global funds, US funds, and loads of other different equity and bond funds for really whatever you need. But of course, the downside here is they don't offer any individual stocks. So if you want to invest into individual stocks, this definitely isn't the platform for you. And a lot of their own funds aren't on their platform, but are on other platforms. Some examples are VWRP, which is an accumulation FTSE All World Fund, VUAG, which is an accumulation S&P 500 fund. They are on other platforms, but not on Vanguard, which is a bit weird. I don't know why they're not on there, but yeah, it's just the way it is. In terms of their account offering, they offer a stocks and shares ISA and a SIP, and I personally use both of those products with Vanguard, so it suits me very well. They also offer a junior ISA. They don't offer a lifetime ISA, unfortunately. And I think that ultimately because there's probably not enough demand to warrant implementing that, and all the probably rules and regulations and extra staff they would need to then monitor and run that account for people. In terms of their trust and reputation, you really can't get much bigger or better than Vanguard. They've been around since, I think, the 70s. They created the first index fund in 1975, which is why I have an affinity towards them. That was Jack Bogle. They're the second largest asset manager in the world behind BlackRock. They have trillions of dollars under management. They have millions of customers around the world. So in terms of sort of safeness, if you want to call it that, you can't really get bigger than Vanguard. In terms of accessibility, this is probably where it's another downside depending on your preference. But what I mean by this is there's no app. So they only have a website. If you want to check your investments, you've got to log into the website. You can do that on your phone, on Safari or Chrome, but there's not an actual app you can use to check your investments. I think there is an app in the US, and I think there is an app in development. I remember making an Instagram post a year or 2 ago about Vanguard Beacon, some new Vanguard UK app that was coming out. It's still not here. I think it's in development. For me, I actually see this as a good thing because you don't want to be checking your investments often if you're a long-term passive investor, and by not having an app, you're less tempted to sort of check it on a daily basis. But of course, if you want to check it on a daily basis, then not having an app is probably a negative thing. In terms of fractional shares, so you can fractionally invest into index funds on Vanguard, but you can't into ETFs, which once again is a downside. But ultimately it depends what you're investing into. I invest into index funds, so I can invest in fractional units, whereas with ETFs, you have to buy full units. So if a unit of an ETF is £70 and you invest £100, then you're gonna have £30 in cash left over, which can be a bit annoying. In terms of any extras, you can automatically invest and set up regular investments, and that's what I've done for now nearly 5 years, and that's another massive plus for me for Vanguard. I really like automatic investing. But overall, Vanguard's a solid platform. I personally have been using them for years and also will be using them going forward. Number 2 is Trading 212. And in short, I'd probably say they're the best platform if you want to invest into individual stocks or a mix of individual stocks and ETFs. We're gonna go through the same 7 criteria again. Number 1, fees. They're very low fee. There's actually no platform fee to use a stocks and shares ISA. There are some FX fees. I think they're 0.15%. I'll flash them up on the screen. But yeah, that's essentially the main fee that you'll be paying, and you only will pay that if you're investing into foreign stocks, so US stocks, for example, or ETFs that aren't denominated in pounds. Another fee you will pay is the bid-ask spread, essentially a hidden fee, which is the difference between the buy price and the sell price. But if you're only investing, once a month, then that's really not going to have much impact on your overall fees. Particularly if you're investing into massive ETFs and stocks that are very liquid, the bid-ask spreads will be very, very small. The reason why they're such a low fee is because they have CFDs, which are on a separate part of the app, and they essentially make a load of money through that, which is why they can offer a 0% or £0 stocks and shares ISA. Number 2 is product offering, and they have a great range of ETFs and stocks, thousands across the platform. It's also quite nicely segregated in the app, so it's easy to find different ETFs and stocks and browse and see what they have to offer. Number 3, account offering. They offer a stocks and shares ISA, which is great, what this whole video is about, but they don't offer any SIPs, any lifetime ISAs. It's only a stocks and shares ISA, a general investment account, and CFDs. I'd obviously personally say stay away from CFDs. Most people lose money. In terms of trust or reputation, even though they're sort of still seen as startup vibes, I guess, because they're mainly an app, they've actually been around for 15, 20 years, I think, by now. So they're actually pretty established. They have loads of customers. They're really big in the UK, really big in Europe. So I'd actually say they're a large platform and they're actually pretty safe. They're nowhere near Vanguard having trillions under management and being the second largest asset manager in the world, but they've got millions of customers. So I'd say in that sense, they're actually pretty trustworthy. One thing that was a bit weird was during COVID, they didn't actually allow any new sign-ups for maybe a year or two, 18 months, something like that. So that was a bit fishy. They never really said why. Apparently it was sort of cope because they had loads of new customers before that or something. I'm not really sure. I've not looked too much into it. So that's something to take up note of. But overall, I'd say they're pretty trustworthy and pretty safe. In terms of accessibility, you can use their website and also their app. Their app is pretty good. It's a really good experience. You can see your portfolio very easily. You can browse different stocks and shares really easily. And overall, it's, a very solid app, a very solid investment platform. As I mentioned, probably the best stocks and shares ISA provider if you want to invest into individual stocks or a mix of stocks and ETFs. They do offer fractional shares, which is great, which makes it easier. You're not left with some cash left over in your account like you would have been had you been investing into ETFs through Vanguard's platform. In terms of any extra features, they do offer automatic investing, which is great. As I mentioned before, I'm a big fan of automation. They also offer pies, which is a very cool feature where you can essentially choose different ETFs or stocks, create your own pie, and you can then automatically invest into that pie every month. You can also follow other people's pies, so you can invest into their pies if you like what you see. So I guess if you create your own pie, post it, it can almost go viral and people can then sort of follow your investment strategy. So it's a bit of a community feel in that sense, but the pie feature is very innovative. I think they were the first platform to implement that, definitely in the UK. And yeah, it's a really good feature. I personally don't really pick individual stocks, so it's not that relevant for me. But if you have a load of stocks that you like, you can almost chuck them into your own pie and create your own mini ETF that you then invest monthly into, which is a very cool feature. And that covers Trading 212. If you do want to sign up, you can use my unique referral link in the description. I'll flash up the actual offer on screen, but I think if you make a deposit, you can get a free share up to £100, and I'll also get a free share as well, which I'll appreciate. But yeah, if you're gonna sign up anyway, feel free to use my link to get a free share. And if you do use it, let me know what free share you get. Hopefully it's one worth 98 quid so you can start your investing journey off on the right foot. Number 3, I'm gonna now come back to a traditional investment platform, a bit like Vanguard, a more old school platform, and that's Hargreaves Lansdown or HL. I currently have my stocks and shares lifetime ISA with HL, although I no longer contribute into it. So number 1, fees, and their fees generally are quite high, but they can be low, but it's quite hard to work out. Whereas Vanguard are very transparent with their fees, it's not that HL aren't transparent, it can just be a bit of a mission to work out what fees you're actually paying, and their fee structure is a bit confusing ultimately. The fees will vary depending on what you invest into. If you're going to invest monthly into ETFs, then I think the fees are capped at £45. So if you go down that approach, then it could be a very good platform to invest, because a £45 cap is very, very low. Remember, Vanguard's was £375. It is worth mentioning though, their platform fee is 0.45%, so that is pretty high. That's triple what Vanguard's is, and infinitely higher than Trading 212's because they have a 0% platform fee. It is worth saying though that 0.45% fee does taper off as you have more and more money invested. So if you are like a multi-millionaire, this could be a very good platform, because as we're going to come on to shortly, it also has a massive product offering and a massive account offering. There are some dealing fees though, £12 per deal, that's very high. If you're investing only say £100 at a time, you're essentially paying a 12% fee to make that deal, which is really, really high, and you want to avoid doing that. I can link the actual fees to HL in the description for you to go through. I think overall, the high fee, unless you're very, very wealthy and have millions on the platform, and at that point you probably don't really care about a £12 dealing fee, or if you're only going to invest into ETFs, because then it's capped at £45. In terms of their product offering then, I think they probably have the best product offering in the UK. They have thousands of different stocks, ETFs and index funds, whereas Trading 212 don't have index funds, Hargreaves Lansdown do. So for example, I use the FTSE Global All Cap Index Fund, which is on Vanguard's platform. That's not on Trading 212, but it is on Hargreaves Lansdown. They really have it all, thousands of, as I mentioned, stocks, ETFs and index funds. In terms of their account offering, once again, they do not miss. They have pretty much every account you could want. They have a stocks and shares ISA, of course, purpose of this video. They have a lifetime ISA, they have a junior ISA, they have a general account. They really have all the different types of accounts that you could need. In terms of their sort of trust and reputation then, they're a massive company. They're actually FTSE 100, so they're one of the biggest 100 companies in the UK, so they're absolutely massive, which you think would make them safer because there is a lot of sort of media attention and press around them being such a large listed company in the UK. But one thing worth mentioning is, because they're listed and are essentially owned by their shareholders, the shareholders want returns, of course. So there could be pressure to essentially increase their profitability, which is maybe why some of their fees are ultimately so high, because the shareholders want profit and dividends, which is understandable, but that's obviously different to, you know, Vanguard, which essentially Vanguard has a different structure where it's owned by its funds. They don't pay dividends to shareholders, so to speak, which is why they can then charge rock bottom fees. And in Trading 212, they make their money through CFDs, which is why they can charge rock bottom fees. So each company sort of has like a different structure, and it's interesting to sort of see how each company works. In terms of accessibility, they have both a website and an app, so accessible from pretty much everywhere, although their app isn't really the best, I don't think. It's a bit clunky to get around, to sort of view your account, see your investments. I'm not the biggest fan of it. Trading 212 definitely is a better interface for their app. And there is no fractional shares on stocks or ETFs. So as we mentioned before, if a stock or ETF is £70 and you invest £100, you're gonna get 1 unit and then have £30 change. So it's a bit annoying and different, of course, to Trading 212. They do though offer fractional shares when it comes to index funds, but not with stocks and ETFs, which once again, as I said at the top of the video, you almost want to start with the end in mind, think about what you want to invest into, and then work backwards to see which is the best platform for you. Not really too many extras to talk about for Hargreaves Lansdown, but overall, they're a pretty solid platform in terms of product offering, account offering, and probably trust, because they're just so big in the UK. But the main downside ultimately is the fees could be high depending on what you want to invest into, and particularly if you're investing smaller amounts, then it probably won't be the platform for you. I know this video is lengthy. Number 4 is going to be probably the last one we're going to talk about in detail. Then we're going to rattle through a few more quickly. But number 4 is Freetrade, or as people are dubbing it now, fee trade.
Call an ambulance! But not for me.
Maybe a little bit harsh, but of course we're going to get into their fees, number 1, and their fees have been increasing over time and are increasing again in this tax year. If you want to hold a stocks and shares ISA with Freetrade, it's going to cost you $4.99 per month, so essentially £60 across the year. Didn't even mean it at that time. Freetrade are a little bit different because they actually offer a fixed fee basis, as you can see. So you have percentage fee brokers like Vanguard, who are 0.15%, and then flat fee brokers like Freetrade, who are £5 a month for a stocks and shares ISA. Generally speaking, flat fee brokers are cheaper if you have higher amounts of money invested. So if you have 100k invested and you're only paying £60 per year, that's going to be cheaper than Vanguard, because if you have 100k invested at a 0.15% platform fee, that's going to be £150 per year. Most people, myself included, who have small amounts invested, the percentage fee structure is going to be cheaper, at least to start with. Freetrade do charge an FX fee as well. So you're investing in overseas stocks, it's a lot more expensive. It's actually a bit more difficult to talk about sort of Freetrade on these 7 different categories, just because a lot of things are behind a paywall. So as we mentioned, if you pay for a stocks and shares ISA, it's £4.99 per month. You then get access to 6,000 different stocks, whereas if you only have the basic account, the GIA, the general investment account, which is what I have, then you only have access to 1,500 stocks. I'll link once again Freetrade's fee structure down below so you can see if it's good for you. But essentially, if you're on a stocks and shares ISA, you're going to be paying £5 a month, and there's also FX fees on top of that if you want to invest into overseas stocks or funds that are denominated in foreign currency. So in terms of their product offering then, the second part of this, they do offer, if you have a stocks and shares ISA and pay that $4.99 a month, 6,000 different stocks, which is once again thousands of different stocks and ETFs, so that's a great range. In terms of account offering, so of course they do offer a stocks and shares ISA. They do also offer a SIP, but if you want access to that, you have to pay £10 per month. So once again, you got to pay more money if you want to get access to these different accounts. £5 per month for a stocks and shares ISA, £10 a month for a SIP and a stocks and shares ISA. These are also going up to £6 and £12 a month, increasing by essentially 20% respectively. So another thing just to be aware of. In terms of their reputation and sort of trust, they are a newer company. I've not actually checked their accounts, but they're more startup vibes compared to the other 3 platforms that I've talked about. So in terms of the other 3 platforms we've spoke about so far, it's probably, not that it's unsafe, it's probably the least safe because it's the newest company and have had the lowest amount of time to build up their reputation. And I think with investing platforms, really in terms of sort of trust and reputation, you're looking at who's been around for the longest, because they've been around for the longest, they've been through the most recessions, and hopefully they can cope with more going forward. In terms of accessibility, they just have their app, and their app is very slick. It's probably the slickest of all the ones we talked about. It's very easy to navigate. You can see your portfolio, you can see different stocks and shares, there's bits of information about them, you can see charts and graphs. It's a very slick interface and it's very easy and intuitive to use. In terms of fractional shares, they only offer US fractional shares, so there's no fractional shares for other ETFs or stocks, which once again is a downside to the platform. And just actually going back to product offering quickly, I think I missed this, but they do only offer stocks and ETFs, essentially the same as Trading 212. They don't also offer index funds, whereas Hargreaves Lansdown of course offer stocks, ETFs and index funds, just to quickly clear that up. In terms of any extras, there's probably nothing else really worth mentioning. I think Freetrade, they did do very well a couple of years ago and we're getting a lot of new customers. But with the higher fees, with hiding things behind this £5 and £10 paywalls, I think that's hindering the company. But hopefully they can innovate and keep the company going. I only have a general investment account with them. But one cool thing is I think they are implementing a pie feature similar to Trading 212. Just like how all the social media apps end up copying each other with stories, B-reels, whatever it is. Now it's happening with the investment platforms, and I think Freetrade are copying Trading 212 feature and are trialing some sort of pie feature, which will be cool. I think if they can implement that and automatic investing and try and bring some fees down slightly, there could still be a place for Freetrade in the market. So that wraps up the 4 main platforms. They're all platforms that I have accounts with, but I wanted to mention a few more extra platforms here at the end, some honorable mentions. Number 1 is Invest Engine, which this time last year sort of took the investing platform world by storm because they were almost doing what Vanguard were doing, but doing it at 0% platform fee rather than a 0.15% platform fee. So essentially cheaper. You can invest into hundreds of different ETFs. So they don't offer any stocks or index funds, just ETFs. But realistically, if you want a diversified portfolio, all you need is ETFs. They almost were Vanguard 2.0, but lower fee. They have hundreds of different ETFs available. One downside is they only have a stocks and shares ISA, not a SIP or a lifetime ISA. But after all, this video is a stocks and shares ISA video, and they do offer that. They have an app and a website, and it's pretty slick, it's pretty easy to use. They also offer fractional shares, so another big win. They are a newer company though, so they are loss making, and once again they are startup vibes, and actually the newest, almost recent startup. So that's essentially why they're offering rock bottom fees to try and attract customers. I assume the fees will increase at some point in the future as they need to start making some profit from somewhere. But they are a very competitive platform if you want to be a long-term passive investor with low fees, so it could be one worth looking into. I currently don't have an account with them, but I have heard a lot about them and good things as well. To be honest with you, I'm probably going to leave it there. I think this video is already like 20 plus minutes and I don't want to take up any more of your day. This might be the longest video I've ever made. Hopefully it's been helpful. But other honourable mentions in terms of places that offer a stocks and shares ISA, you have Interactive Investors, iWeb, AJ Bell, Fidelity, all platforms in the UK that offer stocks and shares ISA if you want to go away and do a bit of your own research. There are other platforms that don't offer stocks and shares ISAs, such as eToro and Stake. I have an account with Stake, good platform, but there's no stocks and shares ISA, unfortunately, and that's the same as eToro. And realistically, if you're going to be investing, you want to house those investments in a stocks and shares ISA because of the tax efficiency. Finally, there are other platforms that are robo-advisors that offer a stocks and shares ISA, Nutmeg, Moneybox, Money Farm, Wombat, Wealthify. There's a load of different robo-advisors out there nowadays, and they're all slightly different, have their own separate USP, trying to attract customers, but ultimately they're trying to make investing simpler for customers. The downside is they often charge higher fees and there's less choice or autonomy of what you can actually invest into, which is why me personally, I prefer DIY platforms like Vanguard or Trading 212. But if you want a more fuller video on robo-advisors, just let me know. Bottom line is, I'm using Vanguard for my stocks and shares ISA. I have been for a number of years, and I think I always will be going forward, at least for now. Let me know in the comments what you're using for your stocks and shares ISA. It'd be great to hear. If you actually can add any more to this discussion or disagree with any points that I've had, please let me know. Always interested to discuss this kind of stuff. But yeah, thank you very much for watching. Drop a like on the video if you've got this far. It's been a long one, and I'll see you in the next video.